All right, it's 4 o'clock, so why don't we call the Wednesday, November 19th Water District meeting to order. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes of the regular meeting on October 22nd, 2025.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous. Right now, Mike, if you want to do the introductions to Mike, you already put that mic down there, so this mic,
Yes.
do that one, okay?
This
Mike?
was not on purpose, but I'm kind of happy it worked out. But yeah, I just want to introduce to everybody Mike Lavitt. Mike is our new district engineer, and if you all mind, just kind of going around introducing yourselves. But we're super happy to have Mike on board. He started Monday. He's already diving right into things, and we were meeting with PUC about terms and conditions and been doing tours of the system, and we went out to the entire water system on Monday. We were doing sewer stations yesterday, so we've been doing lots of stuff. But it's great to have him on board.
Yeah, and I'll just say I'm glad to be here. I've worked for water and wastewater utilities over the years on the consulting side, and I've worked with them on the regulatory side. I was with the state drinking water program for several years. So now it's nice to be actually in the operations where everything happens. And from what I've seen so far, as Mike said, he's taken me on a tour of a lot of the facilities. They're all in really good shape. It's a really well-run and organized system, and from what I've seen of the organization itself, great people, so I'm just glad to be part of it. So it's nice to meet all of you.
Have you met everybody?
I've not quite.
You want to start?
Well, welcome, Mike. I'm David.
David.
Go ahead, Jeff. You know this, Mike. all
Yeah,
right?
you know that, Mike.
You know,
I'm Eric.
Eric, you know me, Bob Cabot.
Yep, shoot.
Bruce for you.
Bruce.
Tim Simpson.
Tim.
Again,
Dennis
welcome.
Burns.
Okay.
We
Welcome
should
aboard
have
again.
all said, my name is Mike.
Pretty good.
Starting to feel that way, yeah.
All right, great, thanks. Mike, financial report?
Sure. Yes, not much to report this month. Revenues remain slightly over budget and expenses remain slightly under budget. Miscellaneous operating revenue is over budget due to trading credit for our old loader and capacity development grant income from closing out our 2024 grant. Public fire protection revenue is billed quarterly, and the difference there is due to timing. There were no debt service payments in October, and cash on hand has increased as a result. Cash on hand of $3.7 million is sufficient to service existing debt and fund operations. But I'm happy to address any questions anyone has.
Don't see any.
If I can make one comment.
All right.
There was a few items, if you look at the financial information, on the bottom left, we keep track of our capital expenses and our equipment expenses for the year. You can see the budgeted total and then the year-to-date actual. There were several projects that we weren't able to take on this year. One of the biggest ones being a rehabilitation of our chlorine storage facilities up at the lake. Obviously, we're getting ready for our budget for next year. There was a lot of requests that came in. We needed a storage box for our Mr. Manhole and some other stuff. Now, the trustees had approved this cost for equipment, so we are purchasing things to spend down our funds for 2025 so that they lessen the impact on the 2026 budget. But I'm not coming to the board because I'm not going to go over what we had budgeted for this year. But we are trying to be responsible and try to pick up some of the stuff this year. Okay, well, if we've got remaining funds and equipment, let's purchase that equipment that we need and make it happen. So just as an FYI. But
Thanks. Great, thank you. All right, this is the part of the meeting where we open the meeting up for public comment. I see there's a few people here. If you'd like to get up, say who you are, where you live, and tell us what you're here for, appreciate it.
I'm Jennifer Byron. I live up the hill at 487 Court Street. It's the property that's adjacent to the, I'm not sure, it's a vault.
Golf Hill. Yep.
Yeah, it's on Goff Hill.
Yep.
Is that what you call it, the Goff Hill
Golf
property?
Hill tank. Yep.
Okay, tank. There you go. So I'm just here to discuss the fencing that we had verbal approval to install, but since there's been some question about whether or not we have approval to have it there, so we're just here to discuss those concerns.
And we do have that as a new business item. It's the first one.
Yep.
however you want to address talking about that now or whatever.
I'll get into it later.
Check.
Great, thanks. Steve?
Yes, Dennis and Mike Broadbent among the mics, and Bruce Ryu have heard this before, but I had become concerned about the Watershed Protection Commission's inspection program, which is now in its second year. Of course, that's in regard to a City of Auburn ordinance, so the Water District is not a direct participant in that, but it's the Water District's product that's negatively affected if something doesn't go well and there's pollution in the lake. And the biggest item on the Area 1, the Year 1 inspections, was the J-Lynn Trailer Park. There were 50 inspections to be done in Year 1, but one of those 50 was J-Lynn, which has, in and of itself, has 50 individual contributions to a common above-ground septic pipe, which has been the subject of all kinds of problems over the years, and eventually enters into the public sewer system at Church Street. So I became concerned that this had not been inspected in Year 1. There had been 2 warning letters sent out by, or notification letters, by the Protection Commission so far in Year 2. Still no action, so I spoke to both Phoebe Hopkins, who is the inspection program coordinator for the Water Commission, Watershed Protection Commission, and to Mike Broadbent, and the suggestions were that the Watershed Protection Commission should confer with the City of Auburn's principal code enforcement officer to have a friendly discussion with the owner of the trailer park to bring about this inspection. And Phoebe reported last week at the Protection Commission meeting that meeting had been scheduled before, well, it was going to be scheduled before the end of the year. I said, that's a little relaxed, can't we move that up? And she agreed that they would discuss the matter with the J-Lynn owner within 30 days, which is like 3 weeks from now. So hopefully that'll be brought forward, because I could just see this coming to the end of Year 2 and the park owner saying, we don't have any septic system, why are we being inspected? And in the meantime, 2 years has gone by and nothing's happened. It's the biggest potential source of the problem for the lake, so that's moving forward.
Thank you. Any comment?
Well, I think we just need to recognize, because of the circumstances, these Year 1 people aren't really Year 1. Their year hasn't gone by. We don't need to go hash all that out again, but Year 1 and Year 2's deadline is this June 30th. So I think it's great that they talked. This is owned by an out-of-state PE firm from that's in New York. So I think it's great that they're trying to work with them, but I don't think the city's going to be able to take any enforcement action until the deadline comes, which,
True.
for all intents and purposes, they're not quite halfway through their year, just like everybody else. I agree with Steve that it's a big risk area, but the city's not going to take any enforcement action until, if they don't comply by June.
Is there any history of impact to the lake in previous years
There's a history of failures with that system.
with their systems? It does impact our,
Freezes, among other things.
It's had backups has been the majority of the issues with it. It's a very flat run, and it's backed up at least 3 times in the last 10 years and overflowed.
and everything goes downhill.
It goes downhill to the lake.
And it's not very far.
I wanted to say it differently, but I won't.
All right, thanks. Move on to new business.
Yep, so 487 Court Street, have this on your agenda packets. I also included in there the letter that Darrell Dana, Mike Hodges had sent to the owners at 487 Court Street. Excuse me. So if you remember back in August, I believe Jennifer came into our trustee meeting, August or September?
It's about right.
And discussed the request for the districts to permit them to park on our property adjacent to the Goff Hill tank. So we worked with Vero, we put together this agreement, and we've sent that over to them. We are just hashing out some details on that, but I think we have that to where we're going to be able to execute that agreement. Well, prior to Jennifer coming in to that meeting, we had had a conversation, and at one point we didn't really know where the property lines were until we were able to get a hold of a copy of a survey. And in those conversations, she had asked me about a fence, and I had told her that I could not support, or I would not support a fence on the district property, but that could be requested of the board. And as we discussed that further, she had described the fence as a very easy to set up and remove fence. I believe the wording when you had sent it to me was kind of like a baby gate. It would just be a small fence that they would just put up to contain their dogs on their property. And I had said, well, if it's that kind of fence, then from an enforcement piece as a property owner, I'm really not going to push it or pursue it. And I don't really see that as an issue. In my mind, a fence that would be like a picket style fence that would go up, I would not want that on our property because we have water mains there, electrical conduit, and a sewer main, in addition to the vault. So after she had come into the meeting and we worked on the agreement, that fence, in my mind, to what we had discussed, had gone up. It was a kind of a smaller fence, kind of like not chicken wire, but it was just a little bit more permanent than that, just panels that were kind of placed together. And in my mind, that was the fence she had described that she would put up, and I didn't see that as an issue. Back in, I believe it was the end of October, one of my staff members reported to me, hey, have you seen this fence? And I didn't know anything about it, so sure enough, I saw the fence. It was a lot more than what I thought that I had been described, and it is clearly onto the district's property and over our facilities. And I, even as superintendent, can't necessarily give permission for something like this, and that needs to be a board item. So we do have just for everybody's reference on the fence. So this is the fence that is there now. Here's another angle of it. Here's our vault to the Goff Hill Reservoir site. So the property line is to the right here. So this panel of fence here is on our property in addition to this, and then this panel going this way. If you look at in the packets, the letter from Hodgins had an appendix which shows the property lines and whatnot if you need more of a reference to that. With that being said, I'm looking at this as it's not impeding our ability to get into the vault. We can still get into our hatch. My big concern right now is look, I don't plan on digging up the water main or the sewer or the electrical. Could we modify the parking agreement to allow them to put up the fence or to have the fence there, but under the provision of it's not going to be at our expense if I have to dig this up in the middle of the night and we have to move the fence or the fence gets damaged on our property. I would not want that to be at the expense of the districts. So that's all I guess I would say on that. I guess I'm not, terribly opposed to it, but it also sets a strange precedent if another property owner says, well, hey, can I put a fence up? My position would be the same, that I would say, no, I can't permit you to put a fence up on our property on this piece of it over here, over there. So again, I'll leave that to the board and how you would want to proceed with this, whether we want to amend our parking agreement to provide a provision for the fence, or if we want to proceed with the order that was issued by Beryl Dana to cease and desist and to have the fence removed.
So I'd just like to circle back for a moment, just to provide some additional context. During the verbal conversation that I had with Mike, I had described the fence in detail, and I understand that from the outside, this fence looks incredibly permanent. It is not. It is secured on the inside only by T-posts and angle iron, just screwed together. This is something that I could easily remove given 48 to 72 hours notice, which is what I had described to Mike, and he had said we could put it up, and that is why I proceeded to spend $2,000 in fencing supplies and 2 weekends to install it. More than happy to take it down given notice, also happy to take the risk if in the middle of the night, the district needs to get to that water main. But any planned work, it can easily be removed. It is not permanent.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board?
Yes?
Oh,
Go, no, you go ahead.
No. So there's no digging that took place to put the,
There is not. They're secured by T-posts on the back side, which go in the ground about a foot, with a driver. No digging.
was DigSafe consulted to erect it?
No, because we didn't dig.
Did you break the surface of the ground by mechanical means? No. To drive the post in, that meets the definition?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I understand.
Yeah.
You probably should have contacted DigSafe, but, that's what you were kind of asking.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had the same question.
Technically, you should have, to pound the post in, had contacted DigSafe.
I'm not familiar with that process, and that
Yeah.
is obviously on me.
But yeah, just DigSafe comes out free of charge to mark the utilities to make sure when people penetrate the ground, they're not driving something into, the worst case scenario, you drive it into electrical wire and get electrocuted.
Yeah, gas
Okay.
main,
Guess what?
Yeah,
It's a safety thing.
Yeah. Bob, you had a question?
Yes, by allowing this fence, we, the district, would be setting a precedent to other situations where other property owners would want fences in a similar situation. And right now, we don't allow this type of thing. The district doesn't allow these fences on district property. And this would be setting a new precedent and opening the door for future similar fence situations. So I believe the district should follow through with the Vero Dana letter in their requirement that any part of the fence that is on district property be removed. It doesn't, a personal property fence does not belong on district property. And we're opening the door for future situations like this, and it could come back, something else could come back in our face again. So I believe we need to follow through with the Vero Dana letter. Any part of the fence that is over district property needs to be removed.
It's my, thank you, but it's my understanding that the occupants at 487 have not agreed to this letter to this point. Have they signed off?
On the parking agreement, no.
Okay.
There's been some issues with receiving notifications with that as well.
Yep.
As well as
But-
contacting for meetings to sign.
So I guess I have a few questions I want to ask you to get clarity. So are there similar circumstances elsewhere, Mike? Because this is a really strange area where this building was there and the utility right away is, like 5 feet from this house or less.
It's 12 feet from the corner of the house. And it's not a right-of-way, we actually own the property, so this is actually like
sure.
a piece of our lot that goes up to the Goff Hill. I can't think of any other circumstance where we have permitted anybody to, that even formulating this parking agreement, that's the first time we've ever had anything like this.
I guess my question is a little different. Are there other places where we have property like this with equipment this close to somebody's residence?
Yeah. Other water storage tanks, the Ipswich tank is pretty close to some residents, wastewater pump stations, that type of stuff. We do have other, and certainly, buried infrastructure, pipes and mains. We have stuff that goes through some houses or under.
I have an additional question. When we acquired the property, because I think it was farmland at one time, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. When we acquired it, did we acquire it by eminent domain, or did we purchase it, or does anyone know the history?
The district's owned the Goff Hill property and had an open reservoir since the late 1800s.
Oh, okay.
So it's been there a long
Oh,
time.
well, I thought it was only back to the 70s.
No, that's been in the family for a while.
Okay.
Jeff,
All right.
were you done with your questions? You
Yeah, I have
said
some,
plural.
I mean, I appreciate Bob's position, you know, but I think it's problematic they dug into the ground without calling dig safe, but if this isn't a permanent fence, I mean, I feel sort of the same way about the parking, you know. I don't really see this as a huge problem. I get the point about a precedence, but this isn't a body that sets legal precedents. Just because you do this one place, you could tell these folks no and tell somebody next week you can do the same thing someplace else. I mean, it might be an equity thing for the board, but it's not a legal precedent. Because we do this here, we're not going to be legally obligated to allow people to do it elsewhere. So, you know, if this is a very tight area. I live right around the corner, right? I go by here several times a day. Personally, I don't see a problem with the fence if it's not permanently affixed to the ground, and we can't just leave it there because we'll get in an adverse possession issue where then they'll have a right to have the fence there, right? So if they're gonna have, you either gotta remove it, or if we're gonna allow it, we need some type of agreement that outlines the conditions that Mike was talking about, that says, okay, you're putting it here. You can put it here under these conditions. It's at your own risk. If we have to move it or whatever for our business and it gets damaged, it's on you.
And we're fine with that.
I guess I'd like to add, you know, let's say, I'm prone to just say, let's leave it up there, but, you know, 15 years down the road, I don't want them to say, well, it's been there for 15 years, so now we have the right to have it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have to have some kind of language that says, you know, that just because it's been there for 15 or 20 or 25 years, that land does not now become theirs.
Right, that's the adverse possession issue, and
So
look, we could have something
we
in
have
this.
to cover ourselves for that. Other than that, you know, if it's removable, I know exactly how you put it up, because I put one up about 3 weeks ago at my two-family house.
So we could have something in this agreement that says this isn't in perpetuity, that
Correct.
at any time,
We would have to
the
cover
district
ourselves.
that can ask for the fence to be removed.
Also, just to add, that fence will not be there forever. We plan on living in the apartment building until we save up to get a house on our own, and then we'll keep the apartment building. But that fence will be going with us to the new property.
Our
So-
intention is 3 to 5 years.
So-
It's mostly for a visual deterrent for the dogs. The dogs bark at people across the street. We're trying to avoid that.
So this kind of arrangement that we're talking about is okay with you folks?
It is. I would be a big fan if there was language for if there's planned work, that we get notice and we'll move it. And obviously, if there's an unplanned emergency, we're willing to take that risk.
We don't ever want unplanned. But it does happen. I just want, it needs to be disclosed in the agreement. It does happen.
I understand that.
But yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we always just try to be a good neighbor. We're not, and, you know, I've already talked with Vero about, well, could we add a provision for the fence? And they said yes. I said, well, let me see what the pleasure of the board is, and then we'll take that next step. So, if everybody's good with that, we will revise the, well, I don't know, I'll let you guys continue to
Yeah.
discuss.
Good, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask Bob, does that sound all right to you?
I still don't feel that any private fence belongs on district property, period.
Haven't heard from you, Dave.
Dogs across the street barking is annoying. I live on Cart Street, and honestly, I understand what Bob is saying in principle, absolutely, but in practicality, I tend to want to revise the agreement to allow for a temporary fence.
So I could support leaving the fence as long as the language is revised that should the Auburn Water District damage it for any reason, we're not liable. And if it's planned work, obviously we can give them notice for whatever it is. But lastly, I think we should put language in there to revise the agreement to revisit this within, say, 5 years.
Okay, so it's an action item.
Would that go for parking as well? Would those both be for 5 years?
I believe we had,
I don't know, I don't know that I'd be in favor of a fixed time period. I don't want to box the district in. I think that, you know, this was like a month-to-month thing. We would give permission to do this until the Board of Trustees acted otherwise. And if, you know, Mike might come in here tomorrow and say, you know, we got a piece of equipment that's 28 feet wide, it's gonna go up and down that every day and can't have the fence anymore, and the trustees revoke the agreement. But I think it'd be helpful, I think Mike's heard the comments, to have Mike Hodgins, another Mike. Mike Hodgins actually draft the language so we can see it, so we know exactly what we're approving.
That's not, I mean, I can have that drafted and brought back to
Yes, I think that's fair.
Okay.
All right, that's an action item. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Well, I don't think we need a motion for Mike. You're gonna bring it back, right? Then we can have a motion
All right.
to
The only
act
thing,
on it.
the only thing we might want to agree to is the cease and desist letter gave a time frame to remove the fence. Are we okay with allowing it to stay until we revise the agreement and are satisfied with that, you know?
Yeah, so I would move that we amend the date from November 30th to December 31st for the cease and desist date in paragraph 3 of the Barrel manual.
Thanks. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? It's unanimous.
I'll bring that back at the next meeting.
All right, thanks, folks.
Do you have a date for the next meeting?
Yep. Yes, 17th.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Have a nice holiday.
Thank you as well.
The next item on the agenda is the proposed rate schedule.
Yes, so I have a quick PowerPoint presentation, I'm just gonna show the boards, with the board. Again, in our draft budget for 2026, we show a 8% water rate increase. So I just wanna run down the process for this, so that we all understand this and we can continue to work on this through next year. So if we want to raise our rates, there's 3 methods to do so that are approved through Maine PUC. There's a 6140A for rate increases from 3 to 7.5%. This process takes 70 days and essentially has the same requirements as the 6140. A 6104B, this is for rate increases of up to 1.5% of your rates. I just learned that today. This process takes 30 days. You do not have to hold a public hearing. And essentially all you need to do is notify the customers, send them all a letter, provide them with the new rate, and it will be effective 30 days from the date of the notification. 6140, this is the method for which you increase rates over 7.5%, which is the bucket that we're in. There's an additional step for this filing to allow the customers to petition the rate case prior to day 60. So that's why this one takes a little bit longer than 6140A.
Mike, what's that mean, petition the rate case?
So they have an allotted amount of time to submit a paper on why the district should not raise their rates.
To PUC?
To
Yeah.
PUC, yep. So this is what the process would look like for 6140. The district makes the determination on a revenue needed to sustain operations. Essentially, when we vote on our 26 budget, we will be doing so because we're going to need the revenue for an 8% rate increase. 30 days prior to the public hearing, the district submits preliminary rate filings with Maine PUC. There's a process for this through their case management system that we would submit the new tariffs and basically open up the case. 2 weeks prior to the public hearing, the district provides public notice. It would go in the newspaper. Additionally, we would mail a notice to every customer with the new proposed rate. The district would hold a public hearing regarding the rate increase process. We would give a presentation on why we're raising the rates, how much we're raising the rates, going over the tariff sheets, and allowing time for the public to comment and answer questions. And then after the public hearing, at least 30 days after the district submits the final rate filing with the PUC, again, you have to wait the full 60 days for anyone to file any petition against the rate increase. So that's essentially the process for what we need to do. I know this was asked at the last meeting, how does this affect customers? Again, this is looking at 5/8 inch meters, so this is your standard domestic meter, and this is based off from 2,000 cubic feet. Currently, our bill, our minimum charge is $48.27. If you look at our usage rate, which is $3.46 per 100 cubic feet, that essentially is your quarterly bill of $72.67. Annually, you're paying $290.68. With an 8% increase, essentially you're going to be paying $23.24 more a year, or $5.81 more per quarter. Kind of breaks that down, and certainly this will be part of our presentation to ratepayers. Looking at rates, I know this is a busy sheet. On the PUC website, you can look up their most recent comparison was from 2022. I do know as a fact that many of these water utilities have raised their rates since 2022. The red line is where the district is at with its 8% rate increase.
With it.
Essentially, we do not jump ahead of any utility. We stay right where we are. Our 8% rate increase does not put us above Portland. And then Lewiston is, you can see right here. So we're essentially still staying below Lewiston. We're not jumping any place with an 8% rate increase. If you look at overall, and I only pulled the numbers for utilities greater than 1,200 customers. It's not really fair to compare us to a utility with 50 customers or 500. Or these are all larger utilities within the state of Maine. The average utility, please disregard this red line. I couldn't get it out of the chart. But essentially the average of all utilities is essentially right in here. And we're well below average. So I think that puts us in a pretty good place. Just to give some of the history of our rate increases, in 2026, if we do an 8%, in 2020 we did 13.7, 2017, 16.5, 9.8 and 13, and 13.1 in 2010. That's as far back as our SharePoint had on rate increases, but I know obviously we did them before that. Projected timeline, December 2025, we approved the budget. January, we'll submit the preliminary filing with PUC. We will send out customer and public notices. February, I would propose that we host the public hearing either the same night, either before or after our regular trustee meeting. So we can hold the public hearing and then adjourn that and go into our regular meeting. So we would do that in February. In March, we would submit the final filing. The rate increase would be effective April 1st of 2026. We need to recognize that even though we raise the rate in April, you don't get the revenue until July of 26. So that's been factored into Mike's budget and works with our finances. So essentially that's what I have for you on that, just to keep the ball rolling and you to be aware of that process and the timeline for all of this. So that's essentially what I have.
And 8% still supports our needs.
Yep, it's the biggest driver of the 8% increase is the meter replacement project.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, I understand.
Yep.
Other questions?
And it meets our needs, how far projected in the future?
Through 2026, I would recommend that we look at in 2027 doing the 1.5 or either a 1 up to a 1.5%. Just increase.
So basically this is gonna cover the near-term increased cost plus the debt service for the meter project.
All right, any other questions?
Well explained, thank you.
Is that an action item? It's not an action.
Nope, no action to take at this time.
All right. So now the health insurance options.
Yeah, so at the last trustee meeting, when we looked at our draft 2026 budget, we had made a couple of assumptions, that information that we didn't have yet. One of those was health insurance. And we knew health insurance was going to go up, but we didn't know how much. And we thought we would be safe and assume a 10% increase. Well, we were wrong. Essentially, the first week of November, we received notification from Cross Insurance that our health insurance was going to go up 28.8%, which was not the news I really wanted to hear November 1st, going into that late in our budget process. So to kind of take a step back to explain our health insurance coverage here, the district covers 85% of all health insurance premium. The employee pays 15%. The district's plan, which is an Anthem PPO 2000 plan, does have higher deductibles. When we went to that higher deductible plan, the districts agreed to fund an HRA, a health reimbursement account, which essentially covers the deductibles that the employees face from the higher deductible plan. We have funded 100% of those deductibles for the last 6 years, and our experience is that we've paid less than 37% of the exposure of that HRA deductible. And this year we're actually set to be well below the 37. Essentially our employees are, pretty healthy, and we've done very well. With that being said, we then went to Cross Insurance and said, oh, this is crazy. It's really a big jump. What can you do for us? The nice thing about being with Cross Insurance is because we're a utility of greater than, I think the magic number is 17 employees, we're able to work with Cross, and they can broker directly with Anthem for a plan specifically for our organization. We have in the past, before 6 years ago, we were always with Maine Municipal, or Maine MMEHT, Maine Municipal Employees Health Trust. We were with them for over a decade. MMEHT brokers insurance for the entire state, all municipal entities in the state who can qualify or be eligible to utilize their insurance. And they brokerage that based off from our size and our experience mods. So we got this from Cross. We reached out to Maine Municipal and said, well, if we made a switch, what would it cost us? What would that look like? So they presented us with 3 options. So if you look at the sheet, you can see the blue options is what we're paying this year in 2025. The green option would be if we stayed with Cross, took the 25% increase, and went that route. The red options would be any of the Maine Municipal options. We could save some money by going to MMEHT, but unfortunately, if you look at the upper part of the red and the red bars, the exposure is much greater to the employees on their portion of the 15%. In some cases, it would drive up their costs on a monthly rate by 80%, which would significantly increase what they pay out of pocket, out of their paychecks every week. Staying with the current plan is the best bet to keep the health insurance costs down to the employees and to keep them stable for the district, even though no matter what we would do, we'd be looking at a large increase to our health insurance. So I gave this same presentation to the sewer board last night, and the sewer board voted to stay with Cross and the Anthem PPO 2000 plan. So I am looking for the water board to do the same.
I make a motion that we continue to provide health insurance to our employees through Cross Insurance Anthem.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a very tight labor market for the people that we have, and if we jack this stuff up, you're gonna be out of alignment with people that are competing for these employees, and you got a lot bigger problem, right? And what's driving this isn't our medical insurance experience, it's the ACA subsidies ending. They're gonna drive everybody else's up because the hospitals have got to charge private insurance more to cover the differential. So I agree with this. I think doing anything else is going to open up a lot bigger problem with employee retention.
Okay, anybody else?
And also, if the worker would have to also, maybe if we did any changes, to find other physicians, other principal physicians to deal with. That's another thing that we don't want them to have to deal with.
And the different plans may come with, oh, you're gonna be in a different network.
Right.
You know,
It's a pain.
And the reason I'm asking for the votes last night and tonight is because if we were gonna make a change, we have a whole lot of paperwork to do between now and the end of November, because we have to get signed up now if we're gonna change something. Matter of fact, I have to call Cross tomorrow and say, we're staying, get me the renewal language, I need to sign on the dotted line tomorrow. So, at any rate.
Good. Anyone else? All in favor?
All right, thank you all.
Jeff, you've got is there something on the agenda you'd like to see? Okay, great. I know you got a hard stop. Okay, moving into old business.
All right, old business in extension investments. If you remember, 2 trustee meetings ago in September, we talked about, the city potentially looking to extend water and sewer into South Auburn and potentially receiving some funding to do so, and that funding coming with some sort of, we don't know the formula yet, a requirement for some match money. What ability does the district have to contribute towards that match money or towards that extension? I gave to you all the PUC policy on extensions and the provisions we would have to follow if we were going to be accepting extensions. I also had a policy that the sewer board had adopted on sewer extensions and what their position was on that. But there was some unanswered things, so we charged Veryl Dana. Mike Hodgins worked with his team there to try and answer this question. Essentially what they found is that the districts do have the discretion to make the decision to either invest or to not invest in extensions. So we do have that discretion. One discretion that has been taken is, and I didn't realize this, it had always been explained to me and I never knew where this was written. It was always told to me that the district made the decision to not invest in extensions, but I don't see that in our charter. I don't see that in some policy. Where is that written? I don't know. I could never defend it if anybody asked me to, well, show me where it says that. Well, the attorneys found that back in April of 1988, the district took such a vote here at a trustee meeting. That vote then went to Auburn City Council, who also approved it, and it was then submitted with the Maine Public Utilities Commission, who has that on file. So I was surprised to hear that. So Mike dug through our minutes, April 1988, and there it was. We also looked at the sewer minutes, and there were similar discussions, and I'm assuming that's about when the extension policy was born on the sewer district side. So with that being said, if we were to use our discretion to invest in extensions, we would have to take steps to take that vote and resubmit that for approval. But as of right now, we're a non-extending utility. We will not invest in extensions. We also need to be careful and understand that rates of the utility districts are subject to fair acts and practices. And if we were to invest in an extension that would then cause our rates to be increased, we could be subject to some scrutiny on that. Because if you cause customer A, B, C's rates to go up to benefit other customers, you could be under scrutiny for that. So I guess the bottom line is this is very good. It's helpful to know that. I'm glad to have this memo because now I can defend if I have to say, well, we voted not to extend and invest in extensions. I have that. But we don't really know the conditions under which the city may or may not receive this money, what that match money would be, and there's really no need to take any action on this now. More or less just kind of we'll wait to see if they do get the money, and if there is some conditions for the investment, we could then look into that to see, well, how could we or what could we do there. But anyways, that's what I have on this. I know this is a lengthy memo, kind of goes into detail on a bunch of different stuff. We could certainly, if we have more questions on this, we could schedule Mike Hodges to be at a meeting. We could discuss this in executive session and ask away any questions we want as far as, you know, modifying our decisions.
Any follow-up questions?
So the answer to the city is, we don't do this. It's
At this time, we can't invest in extensions,
Okay.
but, you know,
I think that sits well with me, with the April 1988 policy.
I support that's our appropriate position. That's,
Anybody else? All right, water quality update?
well, water quality in the lake has been pretty good. You can see the turbidity trend that I included in the packets. We did have a number of wind events recently. So severe that it ripped 9 buoys off from our do not cross line in the lake, which that's never happened before. And it also totally destroyed the boat dock at the boat landing. It was destroyed. It was a very strong northwest wind that hit that shoreline just right, and it devastated the dock. So the thing's going to have to be completely reconstructed for next year. Fortunately, that is a state launch, and we've reached out to the state for assistance in rebuilding it. But the 4x4s underneath the dock, every one of them was snapped from the force of the waves. So,
Mike, is there a normal date when that dock is pulled out?
The last several years,
just to avoid this situation.
we used to close the boat launch in October every year because open water fishing statewide closed on a date in October. And I don't remember what that date used to be, but it was in October. October 15th or something like that rings a bell. Well, during the pandemic, the state said there's no longer an open water season. If there's open water, you can fish. So we have been leaving the boat launch open until the end of, I believe it's been December, or if the lake freezes over previously. So if the lake freezes over, we pull the dock. But we've been leaving it open until the end of December, which 9 times out of 10 we're usually froze over by then. So that's what we've been doing. We did close the boat launch because the dock was destroyed, and then we were immediately bombarded with calls with people upset that you can't do that, and well, we don't have a dock. So I'm sorry, you can't safely launch a boat. So at any rate, I bring this up under water quality. We're also, if you know, we'll touch on it later, the lake infrastructure study that we're doing, and we're currently monitoring water quality. This was very valuable data that we got for that analysis, all these wind events. But anyways, other than that, the lake water quality has been good.
Do you know, Mike, if the dock gets much use after the 31st October?
It gets, there's
Yeah, I
trucks
see
there
people
every
up
day.
there.
There's diehard fishermen on Lake Auburn. So
Maybe we should start pulling the dock out, I don't know, earlier than we've been done, just to avoid this situation.
we
Well,
might
this-
run into
This could have
circles.
happened in July.
Yeah.
All right,
so the dock is state-owned, or state-provided, but we are in the position we maintain.
We own the property. The commission does. But that is a state boat launch.
I was pulling docks out of the water last weekend, and you guys probably don't do it the way I do. It's pretty damn cold up there.
We have gone to it with a backhoe and we pull it out.
Yeah. All right.
Luckily,
thanks.
it came out in one piece.
All right, well, should we move into the budget review?
Yes, and before Mike gives a rundown on the budget review, I'll do this kind of the opposite of we did last night. I do want to talk about the COLA. In your packets, there are two inserts. One says KMA on it, and then one shows our COLA history. So you see this sheet here and this COLA history here. So last month when we did our budgets, we had factored in the I always say it wrong, CPIU increase, which has been determined to be 2.8%. So we factor that into the budgets. We used KMA, who brought us Mike Abbott. They were a recruitment firm. Since we're in their network, I get all these emails from them to participate in salary surveys and different things. And wouldn't you know it, I got a survey they're doing of all municipalities of what other municipalities are doing for merit and COLA increases in 26. And their finding came back that the average increase for 2026 is 3.5%. And obviously, I was set with the 2.8, but then when I saw the 25% increase in the health insurance, that does still really, it actually negates the 2.8%. So there are employees that will make less money January 1 than they do right now because the health insurance is going up 25%. If we do 3.5%, it will make it so that everybody sees some sort of increase in 2026. So I brought this bringing this to both boards. We looked at this last night as the sewer board, and the sewer board voted to move ahead with the 3.5% COLA increase. And we did factor that into the budget, and everything works there. So it doesn't represent a big impact to each district. I think you're talking about like $9,000 roughly. It's what it impacts the two districts to go from a 2.8 to a 3.5. It's not a ton of money. So,
what is the average hourly wage for our employees, just average?
I did not figure out the average, but I circled on this pretty hard, and I did an analysis on $27 an hour. And at $27 an hour, a 2.8% increase is essentially 75 cents an hour, which equates to like 28 bucks a week.
Right.
And the increase to the health insurance is going to cost $30 more a week to several of the different plans. A 3.5% COLA increase essentially equates to $1 an hour, which is $40 more a week, which goes above and beyond the health insurance cost and gives the employee a little bit more.
$10.
Yeah. So I did run that analysis, but I don't.
That's
27 is not a. I think it's pretty close, but I don't know if it's the exact average of that.
And that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
No, but we need to look out for the worker. They're the ones that make everything work.
Yeah, absolutely. We got such an amazing group here.
Good. So we don't need a motion on that?
The sewer board did, and the reason I asked for that is, again, the paperwork thing. I need to get the ball in motion, and if we could, I'm not going to ask you to vote on the 26 budgets, but if you can approve the health insurance, which you've done, and this COLA, that would make a lot of things easier on my end.
I move that we authorize a 3.5% COLA.
I second that motion.
All right, any discussion? All right, then all in favor?
Thank you all. Matt, Mike, Bailey can take it away.
Yeah, I can't imagine our employees looking at their paycheck in January 1st and making less.
It's not fun. I don't want to be the one that explains that.
Yeah.
Although I would if I had to, but.
Good job.
Okay, so the budget should look similar to what you saw last month. I'll run through some highlights and some corrections, but as I'm going through, feel free to stop me if you have any questions or if anything looks wonky to you. Looking at this first page, you see we have the rate increase of 8% factored in here and prorated for the course of the year. It'll be in effect. One thing that's wonky on here is if you look at payroll, it looks like it's going down by 1.9%.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah,
I circled that. It's like I
thought you would. So I had the wrong budget number in there. So if you put the correct budget number in there, it's closer to a 2.2% increase. And that's a little bit less than the COLA because there's an allocation between water and sewer. And based on an analysis I did in July, some more wages got shifted over to sewer than they have been in the past, so that's the reason for that. It also says that it assumes a 10% increase in health, but that should be 25%. That's reflected in the number. But that's it for page 4.
I
Yeah.
have a question on one. So with the rate increase, doesn't public fire protection go up?
Yeah, we have to figure that out because
We have a meeting with PUC the first week of December to discuss that. So our rate.
Because we have it flat right here, but if we're having a rate increase, I would think that that would increase.
19% of our revenue comes from fire protection. So I'm pretty sure that's the number that we have to use. So if we raise the rest of the revenue, then that money that we get for fire protection is going to go up. So we have a meeting to try to better understand that the first week of December.
yeah, that'll be reflected in the next version of the budget for sure.
So we're gonna get an update for our meeting in
Yes.
December?
Yep.
Okay. And, yeah, because that didn't look right to me.
No, that's a good call.
Thank you.
Okay, page 2, nothing much has changed here. A lot of just averages of prior years.
So,
Yep.
I don't know if it's helpful, I know you guys, you use main power options for electricity.
Yeah.
PUC approved a 23% increase in the electric rates of the Bangor Hydro customers for standard offer service today. So I don't know if main power options indexes to the standard offer rate, but that happened this afternoon.
23.
23.
But that's the energy charge, so on your total bill, it's about 10%. So I don't know if that.
No, that's good. I'll look into that for sure.
I believe we're locked in,
Yeah.
so really that won't affect us.
Page 3, not too much has changed here. Health insurance has a 10% increase again, that should be 25%, but the numbers are right.
The second line, customer billing and accounting.
Yeah, so we have a new billing software this year that has customer portal and stuff like that, and there are expenses that go along with that are factored into the budget for 26. Which is, you're asking why it's up so much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that, like you said, the customer portal and being able to log in and see your bill and pay your bill online. You know, it comes at a cost.
At a hefty price.
It does.
Yeah, that includes like leak detection and stuff too.
Yep.
Software is really expensive stuff, huh?
Bruce, from someone who has 15 years in the software business, this is low compared to what, this is a good price for an enterprise system.
Well, 28,000 in 2025, that was low.
Yeah, but if you looked at what we were using, it looked like Pac-Man
Right.
versus
Oh, is that right?
what we're gonna have. What we're getting rid of is garbage.
Yeah, but
We're really excited.
for the service we're gonna be able to give the customer,
Right.
so this is a good value.
Yep.
And it also comes with an app for mobile devices?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go.
And you'll get alerts if you have a leak at your house.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice.
So page 4,
Maybe your phone.
the only item of note there is the 2026 meter bond for $2.7 million that we're going to have to take out to fund the meter change out. Page 5 is impossible to see, but it's just the amort schedules for that debt. Page 6 is the watershed commission budget. This hasn't changed from last month. The biggest driver in this increase is the increase in the septic inspection program expenses. Page 7, nothing has changed there either, just a list of the vehicle fleet and our estimated maintenance costs.
Page 8.
Page 8.
You'll update the base salaries and everything based on 3.5.
Yeah, that's already factored in here, actually, 3.5. So that, yeah, these numbers should be accurate. But that's what's changed there exactly, is a change from the 2.8 to the 3.5. Page 9 is the health insurance. This factors in that 25% increase that we just voted on, and it assumes that 37% utilization of the HRA, which is historically we use much less than that. Page 10, we removed a couple items here, including the Mr. Manhole transportation equipment. As Mike was saying, we had some money in the budget for equipment this year, so we tried to front load some of that stuff to get it off of the 26 budget. But other than that, nothing else has changed there. And then the last page is the capital stuff, and yeah, this hasn't changed either. You can see the meters there for 2.6 million. But yeah, happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Page 11.
Yep.
The, half a dozen down, the paving projects.
Yep.
That's gonna be what, Union Street, the extension beyond Court Street and Minot Avenue?
That's all right. Yeah.
And Court Street, from Union to the bridge.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Okay. That's it.
Project updates. Well, in the nick of time, we completed all of our work on Spring Street. We got that project all paved in and all of our work done. So that was good. I was worried there at the end. Essentially, all of our construction projects are now wrapped up for the year. The guys have been pumping hydrants, winterizing things, and carrying on. The Lakeshore Drive MPI project, no real big status update there. I presented you what they were looking at. They're proceeding to 90% design drawings. We are on schedule to get that project out to bid and the work completed next year. The infrastructure planning study, we actually had a catch-up meeting today, which was really good. As I said, while we don't like having the wind events, the data was very valuable. So that project is progressing and is on schedule. The DOT paving projects, Center Street is still not paved, but our responsibilities are done. All the areas with gate valves have been adjusted, so we're done. I sadly watched 30 cars get drive-through road paint today and get covered out there, which that's just going to be a black eye again.
We've still got work around the area of Hampshire Street. and
Yeah, they've
bypass.
still got the aprons and whatnot to do, but our responsibilities are done. Our terms and conditions update, we actually had a workshop today from 2:30 to 3:30 with PUC. We're actually going to suspend the implementation of the new terms and conditions. We just have a lot on our plate with obviously the budgets, but moreover our going live with our new utility billing software. PUC they really appreciated all of our changes. They support all of them. There was a bunch of stuff. We have like 7 or 8 things just that we need to update and change. Additionally, they made a suggestion of pulling all the fees from the terms and conditions out. Don't put them in the document and put them on a separate fee sheet at the back. So you just, everywhere where you had a fee, you reference, there's a fee for this back page. So in the future, when we need to update our terms and conditions, specifically the fees, you only have to update 1 page. You don't have to go through and modify 30 pages of the document. So we really like that idea, but we just don't have the time between now and December 1st to make all these changes. So they said, well, I told them I don't really have anything hanging over me that I have to get this terms and conditions implemented by December 1st. What's the process to suspend it? She said, oh, well, this is great. We can suspend it. And when you're ready and you submit the revisions, we'll resume review and approval. So we're in a good place. I suspect we will have that effective January 1, but it's in progress, and I'm happy with how it's progressing. And they were very impressed with the work that we did and the updates that we've made. So that's where that's at.
What about the facility study? Where's that at? Facility
study, yeah, sorry I missed that in the memo, but we did, just last week, I got they looked at one of the lots that the city had suggested might be a good lot for us in the future, and they have completed the administrative layouts, the operational needs, so they have given me 3 conceptual layouts on that site. I received it last week. I have not had the proper time to invest in dissecting it and considering it. I know I brought Mike up to speed on this a little bit. We are going to schedule time for us to review this and vet it internally and certainly we're gonna have some questions, schedule a meeting with them, but it is on schedule. We're at the final phase where they can start putting together the preliminary looks on this, and I suspect we'll have this wrapped up by the end of the year, so.
Where is the lot located?
It's off Kitty Hawk Ave. So the city, if you followed what the city's been up to, they purchased the old Henriff building. So the city owns a 7-acre lot right beside that, which they said might be perfect for the utility district. And beside that, there's like a 3.5-acre lot beside that is up for sale. There's a for sale sign on it right now. So essentially, whether we looked at buying the 7-acre piece from the city, or if we looked at buying the 7 and the 3.5, the mock-ups that Weston and Sampson did, they put us all in that little 3.5, and to me it felt a little tight. And if we're trying to set this up for the next 50, 60 years of operation, you don't want to start tight. You don't want to start already confined and like choked. So I
You don't know what that's like, do you?
But yeah, no, it's going very well. I've been very happy with the process so far. It's waiting on us now to dissect it on our end. But I will include those mock-ups in the December packet.
All right. Thank you. I think we'll move into an executive session now.
Yes, I'd like to move into executive session pursuant to 1 MSRA 405-6A to discuss a personnel matter.
Second. All right, all in favor?
I do that while we pass.
Thanks, Steve.
Awesome.
Thanks, Lee. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tiffany. All right, you're back on.
All right, we're out of executive session. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the proposal of the superintendent as to the matter that we discussed.
To give the Friday,
Yes.
right, Friday after Christmas.
December 26th.
All right.
Paid day off.
Paid holiday, additional paid holiday.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right, thank you for your support. Yeah.
We've got an open session. If anybody has anything else they want to say, or? Nope.
Before you adjourn, I just want to say one thing. In December, remember, our meeting is kind of funky. You have your regular trustee meeting at 4 p.m., and we need to have a tight timeline. We need to adjourn that meeting by 5 p.m. because at 5 p.m. we open a joint budget workshop with the sewer board. So the sewer board will come in. We're going to open a budget workshop. I will give a brief presentation on both budgets. We will then go into a public hearing at 5:15. Members of the public come in. We will talk about the budget, answer questions, but ultimately both boards will vote on and approve, hopefully, both budgets. So that is in December. Keep that in mind. It's a little different than normal.
In this room?
In this room.
Okay.
It's fun. It's cozy.
Where do you go during that?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
And a second. All in favor? Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you all.